Hello everyone, welcome to Gate or Gene Key 39. Before I dive in, I'm recording this on the morning of Friday, June 30th, and I'm wondering how everyone's feeling with the nodes shifting. So the lunar node shifted on June 24th to Gate 30 and Gate 50. And for myself, it's had a profound impact on how I'm feeling because the Gate 30 creates a channel and creates like I have a defined sacral. And so on Monday and Tuesday, I was very tired and sleeping a lot. And then the last 2 nights, I've been awake from midnight. I sleep from like 9:30 till midnight, and then I'm up from midnight, which is a little challenging, and it feels like there's all of this buzzy energy in my body. So I'm doing my best to ground. So I'm curious if any of you have noticed this node shift that just happened. I'd like to offer today, before I dive in, I am running a online circle. It's a 90-minute circle on July 15th, Saturday the 15th, and it is called Embody Your Design, Devotional Movement for Your Human Design Type. And what I'm taking us through in that is a chance to connect in circle online with other people around your human design journey. And then, if you've been watching me for a while, a lot of what I talk about is in order to transmute these different energies and in order to really live our design, live how we're meant to, we need to be embodied, which means we need to be able to support our nervous system. So you can check out this event below. We're going to be doing a practice as well as connection time, and then you'll be able to leave that circle with an idea of how to practice so that you can support your body on this journey. It's $13 for the 90-minute circle. You just click the link below in Eventbrite and it'll take you there. You can read more about it. Okay, let's talk about 39. So on the human design side, this is known as the Gate of Recalibration in quantum language and Provocation in traditional language. We find this gate in the center, and it connects to the emotional solar plexus via Gate 55, and it's an individual knowing circuitry. The transit, as we're moving through it right now, is highlighting this. It's supporting us to tease out any energies that are not in alignment with abundance. And remember that abundance isn't just money. It can also be food, relationships, air, water, love, support, the earth, rest. So it's asking us to really look, where am I not abundant and what do I need to look at there? And then it's asking us to use these energies where we may not be in alignment with abundance to deepen our faith and to trust in source, the universe, or the quantum field. On the shadow side of this, you'll see what happens is lack and panic, and through that, overwhelm. You can also see this play out through hoarding or over shopping. And underneath all of this is a fear of scarcity. We're afraid to go without. It also can look as provoking or challenging other people, or holding other people responsible for your alignment with enoughness, with having enough. And on the full expression of this gate, we have this ability to take challenging experiences and transform them into these places where we can recalibrate our energy to become in alignment with source and with faith in order to cultivate more abundance in our heart and in our lives. So on the Gene Key side, I named this myself Samurai Sounds, this Gene Key. And Gene Key 39 is the Shadow of Provocation, the Gift of Dynamism, and the Siddhi of Liberation. So on the shadow side of this Gene Key, there's this fear of being trapped. and losing individual freedom. Remember, this is an individual circuitry, and so that trapped feeling is going to have us feeling like we are not free on our own. And what we see play out in the collective and in our individuality, that when we feel or sense this loss of freedom, it results in violence. And violence isn't necessarily physical, it can also be emotional or mental, and it can be directed outward or it can be directed inward. This loss of freedom, because it's this individual line, it feels very personal, right? So we often will see this play out in our personal relationships, where we might push each other's buttons or we might say things that are hurtful. And this shadow plays out for both the person who is the provoker and the person who is being provoked. So you play in this shadow as the provoker, but also as being provoked if you respond to the provoker. So if you react to that. And the shadow really grabs us and takes hold the most when we take things personally that are happening in the planet. When we see the things that are playing out collectively as a personal thing, or in our life, in our personal relationships, we take it personal. And the reason for this is because that when we see these things play out in the news and around us, we start to blame others. And when we blame others, that's the shadow of provocation, and we contribute to that shadow, as opposed to stepping into the gift of it. So we can see this as playing out in one of two ways, where we feel trapped, and this is where the fear is unexpressed, it gets pushed down. It's also related to deep unawareness and not even knowing that we are trapped. And this I could take on such a different level towards what we don't know is happening in the world, or how we are trapped how some of us could be trapped in a matrix that keeps us in our samskaras through our media, through our own disconnection from our bodies and our minds. And it can also come through where we feel victimized by outer circumstances and start blaming other people for what we are experiencing. And then on the outward expression of this shadow, we have it's where, so I'm going to pause for a second and go back. So the trapped feeling is almost as if we're in a freeze state in our nervous system. We get stuck down there. And if we think of the fight, flight, freeze, and the rest and digest on a ladder, the freeze state is at the lowest place on the ladder, and the rest and digest is up here. And so this provocative, this more outward expression is actually where we start to get angry. And so we move up the ladder, and it's actually really important for us to get angry first in order to move into the gift. Because on a nervous system experience, we can't move out of freeze without getting into fight or flight. Our nervous system must move into that to pump blood to our body, to get us moving and to send life force energy through us. And so we can use that feeling of fight, flight, that anger, as a catalyst to catapult us into the gift. But we need to know when anger starts to become a spiral and continues in provocation. So moving to the gift, we use that anger, which could also be seen as passion, because anger and passion are two sides of the same coin. Where if you don't get angry, your ability to express passion is also limited. And so we want to use the anger to move us towards passion, so that we can be very deliberate about transcending the violence of this provocation. where we pause and reflect and use that passion that comes through, that's channeled through from anger, to use in a very specific way. And this takes us into the gift of dynamism. And this is pure energy and pure play. And it's allowing whatever it is to flow. But it's also what Richard Rudd calls the spirit of the warrior. And the other day I was talking to my partner. We were talking about some of the stuff that's going on in the world. So we were probably tapping into the shadow of provocation that was going on, and this sense of feeling helpless at what's happening in the world. And I got this image in my mind of a group of samurai. And the way that I saw it was these samurai are, and this is what this gift of dynamism means to me, is that we are so focused, deliberate, and intentional when we can be that way, in knowing that our inner landscape, our nervous systems, our thoughts, our emotions are actually what transform the shadow of the collective, because it's our shadow. And so when we can become very deliberate and practiced in how we use our own energy, that is the spirit of the samurai, the spirit of the warrior. That samurai are very deliberate in how they move through the world. And I don't know much about samurai, right? It was just this energetic sense of they can be very cutthroat, right? Because this is a part of this gift, is to challenge people into a new way of being, but it's very deliberate and very it's coming from a grounded and deliberate place. You know, I've said deliberate a lot there. It's not coming from a reactionary place and feeling like I need to defend myself. And so when we create that intentional movement, this stirs the awakening of the mind, and it breaks other people free of their reverie. On this Siddhi, we have what Richard Rudd calls liberation. And this is literally about breaking free. And it's a willingness to die for your cause, because you know that death is not the end. And you know that giving your life for the life of another is incredibly, from this liberation standpoint, a very spiritual act. This Siddhi is not all floaty and happy. There's an element of challenge, and like I feel into it, it's very much like the bursting of a star. Like, in order to create something new, there is something very big that needs to occur. When I tapped into my guides, the Fae, and I pulled one of my oracle cards around this, what I received was there is liberation in a merging with all. And this is the greatest dilemma in the human experience, because there is a constant fight to not want to give up individuality. And yet at the same time, in individuality, that is how we find the ability to merge and to liberate ourselves. Because at some point along the path of knowing who we are individually, that all folds together and we become one with the whole. This is not a gentle expression, as I said before. It's like this explosion or leaping or fireworks into newness, into expansion. And it's like the samurai moving from deep stillness to cutting swiftness, and from peace to explosion. Because life is not just gentle. There are explosions and earthquakes and breakthroughs that take us through to the next form. If I think of the maple tree in the backyard in the spring or the autumn, I can't even remember now, but they release little helicopters that go down. Well, those helicopters to plant seeds for new maple trees, those helicopters burst off of the tree, and then they spiral down, right? There's got to be a forcefulness. There's also these wild flowers. Some people would call them weeds, but I quite love them in my garden right now. When you brush against them, their seeds literally burst out of their blooms in order to spread. And this is in nature. There needs to some body, it's becoming even more attuned and more conscious of this physical experience in order to create that bursting. Thank you for watching. Please, if you feel called, like, share, subscribe. Remember, there's a 90-minute circle you can join. And there's a few other goodies below on my website, a visualization download as well. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.